in the littlest possible space. So they're very wise in what they put in. How about this? Can you tell me a species that exists without purpose? You look at the ecosystems around you, when you enter US for immigration, they make sure you're not bringing in any foreign plants or animals. They don't want a single animal species can mess up the whole system. It's very delicately balanced. They don't want you releasing your pet goldfish into Penobscot River. That's messing up with the ecosystems. Every single piece of this puzzle has a purpose. So there's too much complexity, too much organization, and too much order, too much purpose to everything to say this is all random. Now if we establish that there's a creator, did that creator communicate with us? If he didn't, that's good news. There's nothing to worry about. Yeah, he created, it was a game. Yeah, he probably created and forgot us. And so we're not liable for anything. We're just his toys. If he ever sent us a communication, it better be intact. He cannot send us a letter with the first 300 pages missing. That won't be helpful. It has to be authentic. It has to have his signature. Just like you see the artist's signature in the universe. You look at the solar system, you have a sun, you have planets revolving around, galaxies revolving around into space. You look at a single atom, you have a nucleus, electrons revolving around. Same model, same signature, same artist. So this letter better be signed. You should be able to look at this message from the creator and say, yes, this is it. I can see. His light shines through it. And it should be practical. God's goal for me should not be to do something that is beyond my reach. That's not fair game. That's not right if God expects me to do things which I cannot do. It better be practical in Orno in 2012, and I should be able to carry out what He wants me to do. So these are the 3 basic requisites if they were a communication from God. So this is a homework for tonight. We believe in God and Day of Judgment. We also believe in homework. Do I believe in God? If the answer to that is no, life is good, go to sleep. If the answer is yes, did this God ever try to communicate with me? And if He did I read every word of that letter? Every single, what could be more important than a letter from God? What could be more worthy of your time than a communication from the highest deity? If President Obama sent us a letter, we'll make sure we read it, every word of it, and put it in a frame, And then you ask yourself, and I don't care what message that, what book you believe in. It's Torah, or Old Testament, New Testament, Psalms, Proverbs. Yes, this I think is God's message to me, and I'm ready to mold my life into this message. I have realized that this is God's message addressed to me. Dear John, dear Smith, this is a personal letter for you, and here's what I want you to do. So what are the Creator's laws? So I'm an outsider. I come into US, I rent a car, and I go on the road. And I see these little things on the road. And I ask somebody, what is this thing that says, this is an octagon. Every time I pass by one, my little son tells me, octagon. This is an octagon. It says stop. So I ask someone, what is this sign? And he says, well, this is the law. This is the signs that government put in there. You have to follow these rules. And I say, can I see this government? I don't see anyone. There's nobody in this crossing. He says, no, you don't see the government, but these signs were put there by the government. I said, well, I'm really not convinced. There's a lot of signs everywhere. I don't know who put them there. And for people like me who are not convinced, God sends messengers. They come and they convince you that yes, these signs mean something. You better abide by it. What did these messengers bring? They brought miracles. What is the miracle? You're living in this town and you've known somebody, he's a good neighbor, he's a nice guy, and he's truthful. And one day he knocks your door and says, John or Jessica, God communicated with me, and He's given me a message for humanity. What is your first reaction? You call 911. And you ask him, is he taking his psych meds? Is he okay? That's the reaction that all prophets got. That's what Pharaoh said to Moses. That's what people said to Jesus. You're crazy. What are you talking about? God is talking with you. Out of all of us, He chose you. And for that, the prophets brought miracles. And miracles are an antidote for your intellect. They did something when Jesus is raising the dead, or Moses is throwing his staff and it turns into a huge snake. He's telling you, look at this. Can your intellect justify this? And if it can't, you better believe what I'm saying. So God sent miracles to defeat intellect. And then in Islamic theology, these messengers were role models. We don't believe that messenger is just a postman, that he brings a message but he himself can indulge in sin. In Islamic theology, we believe that all messengers, they are innocent. They are as close to perfection as a human being can get. And then they brought a message, and the message was always uniform. All the messengers that came, they preached the oneness of one God, and they tried to bring His creation close to His grace. And they all required that they be followed, their word be followed as the word of God. I'll stop this story here, and I'll take you to Arabia 1400 years ago. This was a society that had 5 ambitions in life. They liked to drink, they were very brave, but most of their bravery was spent on tribalism. Tribalism is what today we will call nationalism. That, my tribe, right or wrong, this is what I'll fight for. So this was a very tribal society. Their motto was death before dishonor. They will fight for their slightest thing which they think was an insult to their honor, and the fight will continue for 30 years. They also valued money. Money was very important to them. Money meant respect. That was their criterion for greatness. Words, they did not have, Mona Lisa. They did not have Gothic art. They did not have great churches with magnificent pictures. Their art was their eloquence. On the Kaaba, which was the holiest shrine in Arab, there were 7 poems suspended on the walls. They're still, you can Google them. It's called the suspended poems. And they were the work of the greatest poets of that time. And they were their 7 gems of their culture, of their civilization. Nobody could outspeak them. They were proud of their eloquence. And then they valued women. But this was a 100% male-dominated society. They valued women as an object, as a commodity. But her rights were similar to that of a sheep. They didn't really value her for who she was.